Today we're going to take a look at some notes that I've gathered that have tracked the path of the virus from its origin. We're mainly going to focus today on the work of Joshua Philipp from the Epoch Times and his information on where the virus came from. Was it simply a natural process from a bat to a pangolin to the Hunan seafood market? Or was it something deeper? Reverse engineering.
Target acquired.
Wuhan's biosafety lab. Bats? How many coronaviruses are there? G5 towers?
What?
Please.
Why don't we take a step back?
A 57-year-old Wuhan shrimp seller in Wuhan has been identified as one of the first victims. She made a full recovery in January after a month-long treatment. Wei Guizhan was selling shrimp at the Hunan seafood market. December 10th, when she developed a cold. She went to a local clinic for treatment, where she was given an injection. What was this injection?
I don't feel so good.
Wei believes she got the disease from a shared toilet amongst meat sellers at the market. Several vendors trading close to her also contracted the disease. Though identified as patient 0, Wei may not be the first person to have contracted coronavirus in China. A study in Lancet Medical Journal claims the first person diagnosed with COVID-19 was identified December 1st. This person never visited the Wuhan seafood market. None of the patient's family had developed fever or any respiratory symptoms. There was also no epidemiological link between the first patient and the later cases. I want to fit in. The researchers analyzed data from 41 patients with confirmed infections, and 6 died, putting the fatality rate of the group at 15%. Clinical presentations of the patients greatly resembled SARS. First death was someone who had continuous exposure to the market before he was admitted to the hospital with a 7-day history of fever. November 17th may have been the real first case, weeks before authorities announced the emergence of the new virus. The Chinese government was widely criticized over attempts to cover up the outbreak in the early weeks, including crackdowns on doctors who tried to warn colleagues about a new SARS-like virus.
No fair.
For 1 month after the date, there were 1 to 5 new cases reported each day, and by December 20th, there were 60 confirmed cases. The Chinese have suggested that the US military may have brought the virus to China. Here's Toll Booth Willie.
Yeah, a lot of people tried to get through my toll booth. I said, get out of here, I'll codfish you with a Louisville slugger, you diseased sack of shit.
In January 10th, China disclosed the full genome sequence. It's very closely associated with 2 viruses sampled from bats. Sampled from bats from the People's Liberation Army. It has an 89.1% nucleotide similarity with CoV2C45 virus, and even exhibit 100% amino acid similarity in the NSP7.
Look.
Lu Raozhan from the Chinese Center for Disease Control, January 30th,
also published a paper in The Lancet on January 30.
88% similarity to bat-derived virus, but were more distant than SARS, 79%, and MERS, 50%. Here's Christopher Walken.
You know, your nucleotides, amino acids, MERS 50%, SARS 79. I was in Vietnam, this Hanoi pit of hell. 4 long years, your father hid this uncomfortable metal up his ass. Eventually died of dysentery. Wash your hands, Butch.
Zhoushan virus was discovered in 2018. This was discovered in the Institute of Military Medicine Nanjing Command. Paper published in 2018 states that scientists from this institute detected many SARS-like coronaviruses in bats from Zhoushan City. Also known as bat-like coronavirus, Zhoushan virus, the E protein, is highly similar to SARS, but like coronavirus.
Oh. The sequence of a key part of S protein of Wuhan virus has high homology with the SARS virus.
What are S proteins? E envelope protein, S protein, that's spike protein, that's the lock-in key. Little mushrooms attached to the top of the virus. They are the key to unlocking the cell's locks to invade them and destroy them. The 100% amino acid similarity suggests that it can't be a natural mutation. Judy A. Mikovits, PhD, molecular biologist, former director of Lab of Antiviral Mechanisms, NCI. The spike protein is the lock-in key. That's the pathogenic spike protein for the original SARS. So you're now allowing that access to human tissues because the spike protein from the natural evolutionary strains don't infect human cells at all. So that research has been going on in Wuhan since 2007. And clearly, if that spike protein from SARS wasn't on the COVID, it wouldn't be able to enter human cells. That's evidence, apparently, that it couldn't have gone through the Wuhan seafood market. Principal Skinner, I was working in a sweatshop in Wuhan. Okay, let's stop this right now. I also got to eat chow mein on weekends. I'm the real Seymour Skinner. Skinner!
Research into the virus genome sequence revealed many essential data points.
February 28th, report in the South China Morning Post. The Shanghai laboratory that first shared coronavirus genome was ordered to close by authorities. Why would they do that? Which essentially stops the scientific research of a virus that was killing their own people. Zhang Yongzhen, who published the genome on January 11th, working at the laboratory, according to a February 26th report on Qixin, Zhang Yong's team completed the genome of the previously unknown virus on January 5th. On the same day, the Shanghai Public Health Clinical Center reported the discovery to the National Health Commission and recommended prevention measures. No response was received as of January 11th. It was then that the team decided to publicize the virus genome sequence on virological.org, becoming the first team to do so in the world. And now Morgan Freeman.
Existing virus samples must be destroyed. Info about the samples, related papers, and related data are all prohibited from the release.
On January 3rd, China's National Health Commission distributed Notification Letter 2020 number 3, in which a similar directive was presented.
Dr. Sean Lin, former lab director of the viral disease branch, Walter Reed Army Institute of Research.
The CCP was censoring the info to not allow the sequence to be published. Reverse engineering could be responsible for the matching protein.
Dr. Shi Zhengli spent years studying bats and coronaviruses. She was the first to. She's a Chinese virologist and researcher at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. She published a paper in 2015 about her research into synthetic viruses. The media company with ties to the CCP, they tried to refute her rumors through an interview. She published 4 papers. She's been conducting research on coronaviruses since the SARS outbreak in 2003. Since 2010, her research has been redirected to identifying the capacity for coronavirus transmission across species, specifically the S protein of the coronaviruses. They've been looking into the part of the virus that makes it transmittable to humans. In June 2010, a team including Shi Zhengli produced a paper. It describes research to understand the susceptibility of angiotensin converting enzyme 2 ACE2 proteins of different bat species to the S protein with the SARS virus. They modified key amino acids to mutate the bat's ACE2 to examine compatibility with the SARS S protein. Waylon Smithers.
I'm somewhat partial to Jolly Ranchers. Well, Shi Zhengli unearthed the passageway for coronaviruses into human bodies. Also, Shi Zhengli didn't agree with my alternative lifestyles. Oh, who am I kidding? The boathouse was the time!
October 2013, they produced a paper stating they isolated 3 viruses from bats, one of which that had an S protein that integrated with human ACE2 receptors. This effectively demonstrated the direct human infection of SARS-like viruses to humans without the need for intermediate host. 2015 at the Wuhan lab described the creation of a synthetic virus, a self-replicating chimera virus, like in X-Files.
You'd have to have DNA from the unclassified chimera cells in your own body.
I know.
But how? And how did you know?
I believe that I was exposed to this material and it is responsible for giving me a serious illness.
What kind of illness?
One which cannot be cured.
This had the SARS virus as a framework, with the key S protein replaced by the one from the bat's coronavirus they discussed in the 2013 paper. This new virus demonstrated a powerful ability to cross-species infection. The mice infected with the new virus revealed severe lung damage with no cure. Count Dooku.
They next went up to the test on monkeys. Obi-Wan, you disappoint me. Simon Wayne Hobson told Nature, a site, that if the new virus escaped, nobody could predict the trajectory. Propagation could happen anywhere.
In 2018, Shi Zhengli was at Shanghai Jiaotong University. The topic was bat coronavirus and its cross-species infection. In 2014, Obama suspended funding for studies on viruses by Shi Zhengli. Why would you be creating a coronavirus that can infect humans? A lot of people like to call conspiracy theory the moment that you're coming up with ideas that may put blame on other individuals. And when there's information out there, such as what I've found, documented reports, you got Chinese government destroying evidence. Remember, Shi Zhengli, you are my biosafety level 4, a girl. Great, start the reactor. The invigorating taste of Ocean Spray Cran Mango. Available right now for the low price of $3.44 Canadian at Walmarts and participating Walmarts. Gordon Chang, Asian Affairs expert, columnist. The response to this virus was extremely troubling. It endangered not only the Chinese people, but the entire world.
There is no other way of looking at it. They are responsible for the continuation of this coronavirus. And every time it comes back, because it will come back, because it's going to be with us now permanently, it will come back, and every person that it kills, every person it harms, is directly attributable to the Chinese Communist Party.
Now we're going to take a look at some other info that I found on Miss Shi Zhengli. How China's Bat Woman hunted down viruses from SARS to the new coronavirus. Got the bat picture there. Mysterious patient samples arrived. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Wuhan Institute of Virology, 7 p.m. on December 30th, 2019. Shi Zhengli's cell phone ran off the hook. Public health threat because it belonged to the same family of viruses that caused the acute respiratory syndrome. That's SARS, a disease that plagued 8,100 people and killed nearly 800 of them between 2002 and 3. She, a virologist who is often called China's Bat Woman. Yeah, Bat Woman. She's the Bat Woman. An interesting surprise. She's the Bat Woman. She's got virus in her eyes. They call her Bat Woman. She's a... Is that Monster? Oh, God, I got the wrong song. They connected the illness to the novel coronavirus that became known as SARS-CoV-2. The disease spread like wildfire. By April 20th, a few days ago, more than 84,000 people in China had been infected. 80,000 of them by like mid-February. Gee, what happened in the last couple months? They're back. The last couple of weeks, if you've had the contagion, you got to wear some kind of ankle bracelet monitor or something so you can tell people where you're going, like Trudeau. On a breezy sunny day, oh my God, are they going to do this story stuff now? In 2004, she joined an international team of researchers to collect samples from bat colonies in caves near Nanning, the capital of Guangxi. Her inaugural cave was typical of the region, large, rich in limestone columns, and, as a popular tourist destination, easily accessible. It was spellbinding, she recalls. Milky white stalactites hung from the ceiling like icicles, glistening with moisture. Okay, sounds great. There were lots of bats. She didn't get... Oh, look at that picture. That's creepy. Is that bat sleeping or in the middle of flying? Apparently she's releasing a fruit bat. Fruit bats are like the main host of Ebola. I wouldn't want to get near that stuff with a 10-foot pole. But sample after sample turned up no trace, and then there was these researchers that learned that the presence of coronavirus in bats was ephemeral and seasonal, but an antibody reaction could last from weeks to years. On the outskirts of Kunming, the capital of Yunnan, where they conducted intense sampling during different seasons over 5 consecutive years. The efforts paid off. The pathogen hunters discovered hundreds of bat-borne coronaviruses. Hundreds! So people are saying there's like 8 coronaviruses. There's hundreds. It says right here. The majority of them are harmless. Okay, they suck. But there's 9 or 10, maybe 8. But whatever, there's probably, we don't know. But dozens, there you go, belong to the same group as SARS. They can infect human, dozens, there you go. They can infect human lung cells in a petri dish and cause SARS-like disease in mice. Okay, Guangdong. Doesn't say nothing about Zhejiang. That other place mentions Zhejiang, and they don't say anything about that in here. They collected blood samples from more than 200 residents in 4 of those villages. It found that 6 people, or nearly 3%, carried antibodies against SARS-like coronaviruses from bats. Antibodies. These guys already have it, somehow. Humans. Well, how do they know this? How do they have this stuff? Why aren't people talking about these people with antibodies? They have them here. Even though none of them had handled wildlife or reported SARS-like or other pneumonia-like symptoms, somehow they just got it from living there. Or eating the food or something. The fruit from the bats. Said they had seen bats flying in their village. 3 years earlier, Shi's team had been called in to investigate the virus profile of a mine shaft in Yunnan's mountainous Mojang country, famous for their pure tea, where 6 miners suffered a pneumonia-like diseases, and 2 died. After sampling the cave for a year, the research discovered a diverse group of coronaviruses in 6 bat species. In many cases, multiple viral strains had infected a single animal, turning it into a flying factory for new viruses. Okay, this goes on and on. There's some smelly bat guano. Meanwhile, she frantically went through her own lab records from the past years to check for any mishandling of experimental materials, especially during disposal. She breathed a sigh of relief when the results came back. None of the sequences matched those of the viruses her team had sampled from the bat caves. That took a load off my mind, so she's not responsible for the coronavirus. But like I said earlier, the chimeric viruses, does it say anything about that in here? By January 7th, the Wuhan team had determined that the new virus had indeed caused the disease those patients suffered, a conclusion based on results from analysis using polymerase chain reaction, full genome sequencing, antibody tests of blood samples, and the virus's ability to infect human lung cells in a petri dish. The genome sequence of the virus, eventually named SARS-CoV-2, was 96% identical to that of a coronavirus the researchers identified in horseshoe bats in Yunnan. Back in Wuhan, where the lockdown was lifted on April 8th, China's Bat Woman is not in a celebratory mood. She is distressed because stories from the internet and major media have repeated a tenuous suggestion that SARS-CoV-2 accidentally leaked from her lab, despite the fact that its genetic sequence does not match any her lab had previously studied. Yeah, but it's pretty close, and there are some 100% matches, in the amino acids. Other scientists are quick to dismiss. Where does it say? Does it say anything about the chimeric thing? I don't think it does in here. I don't think it says anything about that, but she clearly stated that she does.
Yeah, the S protein of the Wuhan coronavirus is criticized in its cross-species ability to infect humans. Yeah, some of the viruses I've been exposed to, they make the coronavirus look like a real walk in the park. Yeah, I don't feel too good at night sometimes. Hey, get out of there! Get out of there, I'm gonna pump you full of lead. You got to the count of 3. 1...